Your Detroit Pistons are officially, as of January 23rd, the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference after defeating the Atlanta Hawks. They are above the play-in. Can they stay here? Is this sustainable? We'll talk about that. Today's episode, Locked On Pistons Podcast. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. We are 500 subscribers away from 10K. Still around 49% of you guys who listen and watch the podcast are not subscribed. So if you want to find the best way to support the channel, best way to support me, go hit that subscribe button at the YouTube channel, Locked On Pistons. Help us get to 10K. I really would appreciate it. You can also leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. You can head over to LockedOnDaily.com. Type in your email. You'll get a Locked On Pistons daily newsletter along with your Locked On Pistons daily podcast. You can also text the number at the bottom of your screen if you want to be part of the Locked On Pistons Insiders program, where you can text with me one-on-one and get updates directed or texted directly to you from me as well. So check out all that stuff. I appreciate you guys. And today's episode also is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. The Detroit Pistons defeated the Atlanta Hawks. They have now jumped over them for the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. I know Ashton, the trainer, is celebrating somewhere. I don't know why I said it like I haven't heard from him. He is freaking out. He is absolutely enjoying this. For those of you guys who may not get that reference, Ashton was on the podcast, obviously, a few years ago. He was on Twitter talking about he believes the Pistons could be the 6th seed. Now, it didn't happen in those years, but he was on the podcast this past summer talking about how he believes this team would be a 6th seed. This year, he still believed in them being a 6th seed. And obviously, at this point in January, they actually have become the 6th seed. They have now matched the amount, the highest win total of any other season of Cade Cunningham's career so far with the Detroit Pistons. They have 23 wins. Again, something I'm going to continue to go back on and talk about all year is the fact before the year, the Detroit Pistons over-under was set at 24.5, everyone. 24.5. They're about to break that probably in a week. We're not even in February yet. They're going to break their over-under set by the books before February even starts. That's absolutely remarkable. This team has, by definition, overachieved and has blown people away. No one expected them, not many, let me say that, not many people expected them to be where they're at. And they just continue to shock people, continue to play well. And despite the fact, again, we've mentioned it multiple times, the fact that they are doing this without Jay and Ivy, they continue to do this. They continue to shock people. They're playing extremely well. It's fun. This is probably the most fun Pistons fans have had watching basketball since the 2018-19 season. And honestly, it might even be more fun than that. It might be going all the way back to that 2015-2016 season, where I think that was really the last time where Pistons fans really had that type of hope and excitement for the future. And that 15-16 season, everyone thought, I don't think there was anyone who didn't think the Pistons team was on the rise. Injuries obviously hurt them a lot, but that just lets you know how far they are going back with this type of excitement. When the last time we've seen this type of excitement around the team. Another stat that I saw after this win against the Hawks, they've clinched over 500 in a season for the first time in 37 months. It's the longest streak without a winning month in NBA history. They broke it this month. This team is shattering all the bad stuff that happened over the last 5 years and really is trying to really right the wrongs, I feel like, over the last 18 years, really. Going all the way back to, or 18 is a little strong, 15, 16 years, going back to when they traded Chauncey for AI. It's been a struggle since then, and I think this is the most hope that anyone's had for the Pistons since then. Let's talk about a little bit the Hawks game. Later on, I want to talk about what's leading this success the Pistons are having in January, and I think it's something that I didn't see coming. Well, maybe not exactly. I didn't we'll talk about it when it comes up. But let's just talk about the Hawks game real quick, man. Look, I know we're going to get jokes, or I'm going to get jokes about Locked On Cade podcast. But I don't know how I'm not supposed to talk about Cade when he's leading the Pistons the way he is and playing the way he's playing. First of all, I want to say the last 2 games made it very clear that, you know, when you hear the argument that turnovers aren't the biggest deal, like when you hear people say, and let me not say they're not a big deal, but when you hear people say high usage guys are going to have turnovers, you live with it, it is what it is. The last 2 games are a perfect example. Now, am I saying that Cade's last 2 games when he had 10 turnovers both games is good? No, you don't want him to have 10 turnovers. But in both games, he was by far the best player on the floor and wasn't even close, despite the fact that he had 10 turnovers. So read into that how you like. They're not the whole story, especially the end of this game. The end of this basketball game against the Atlanta Hawks was like the end of a pickup run when no one really wants to play anymore. Everyone's tired, but they just played another one for no reason. It was bad. The Pistons were up at like 17, and they just started trolling, whatever. But Cade had 29 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds, an efficient 29 points again, 63% from the field, 1 of 4 from deep, but got to the line 4 times, thankfully, somewhat. 4 of 4, got 29 points on 19 shots, played well, played really well. And one of the things you're seeing from Cade that I think is incredibly hopeful and exciting to see and gives reason to believe that he has, I mean, you already felt this way, but you're starting to see it play out in real time, that he's just going to continue to get so much better, is that you're seeing Cade score now in ways that he wasn't scoring at the beginning of the year. You're not seeing him just hit dribble pull-up threes. It's not just a bunch of dribble pull-up middies. You're seeing Cade, specifically in this game and the last few games, you're seeing him utilize step backs in the mid-range. You're seeing him really utilize his soft touch from the 4 to 7 foot area, whether it be hook shots or whether it be sweeping hooks, whether it be jump stop floaters, whether it be runners. He's finding different ways to score, different avenues of scoring, adding it to his bag. So now he has pull-up three-point shot. He has the pull-up midi. He has the coming off screens. He has the in the post. He can get to the rim. He's adding a floater to his game. He's adding different ways of scoring to his game to where it makes it harder and harder to guard him. And also, you're just seeing, I think everyone's known this, that he's just a tough shot maker. Like, he's just, shots that he takes are probably difficult and I don't want to say bad shots, but you wouldn't recommend a lot of these shots for other players. But Cade is just one of those guys, he's going to hit tough shots. That's what he's, for good or for bad, and sometimes it is for bad because you'd like to see him get some free throws, but he is going to hit or take and hit tough shots. But you're starting to see him, like I mentioned, in this game against the Hawks in the last few games, find ways to create easier shots for him. The part that I really love is that 4 to 7 foot area, so he's not going all the way to the rim. He's not having to shoot over a contested big, a rotating big, shoot over 2 defenders. He's finding different ways to score right around the dotted line. Again, like I said, whether it's a floater, whether it's a little sweeping hook, whether it's a half hook, it's all kinds of different things he's doing in that area, and the way he's sizing it up, it's just letting you know that he's problem solving in real time. And that's what impresses me the most about Cade, is that you're watching him problem solve in real time. He wasn't doing this at the beginning of the year. He's realizing the way teams are guarding him. Okay, here's my counter. I'm going to this shot a lot more. Like Dyson Daniels was guarding him a lot in this game. Dyson Daniels is an incredible defender, but he has length over Dyson Daniels. So instead of just trying to beat him with speed or just dribble him to death, he used his size to try to bully him in the paint a little bit on that one baseline finish that he had. Another time, he can get the ball to that dotted area, and he has the length, he has the size, he has the height to be able to just raise up over him and drop in a little floater, drop in a little hook shot. And you can't contest it. It's just a matter of, do you have a good enough touch to make it? And Cade has incredible touch from that area. So that's what I'm loving seeing from Cade, is that he's just problem solving in real time and figuring out the best ways to score and figuring out, what I was doing at the beginning of the year was cool, but there's other ways I can even add to my bag. Here are other ways I can be more effective. Here are other ways I can make my game more efficient. Here are other ways I can really make defenses pay that will then open up what I really want to get to, which is obviously Cade likes to get into the rim. So Cade's been exceptional, man. He continues to make his argument for All-NBA, man. A few weeks ago when we talked about All-NBA, I thought it was a little, overboard. I thought maybe we were jumping the gun a little bit. But if he doesn't make the All-Star team, honestly, I think he should be starting in the All-Star game, first of all. But he's not going to. if he doesn't make the All-Star game, I swear to God, you'll get the biggest crash out you've ever seen on Locked On Pistons. Darth Koo has nothing on what will come if he doesn't make the All-Star game. And he legitimately has an argument for All-NBA. Like, if the Pistons stay around the 6th seed, especially if they avoid the play-in, if the Detroit Pistons avoid the play-in, Cade Cunningham should be an All-NBA player. Now, that will increase his contract, so I'm sure there's some people that may say, okay, it's fine with us if you don't make that All-NBA team because it will, impact the Pistons' salary cap sheet. I get that, but not talking about any of that right now. Cade is playing like an All-NBA player. He is playing like a top player in the entire NBA, and it is, the Pistons finally got themselves one, man, and you're watching it play out in real time. What he's done the last 2 games against defenders like Amen Thompson, Tari Eason, Dillon Brooks, and Dyson Daniels has been nothing short of incredible. So, and he just completely annihilated his matchup against Trae Young. So, Trae Young had absolutely nothing for Cade. Just got absolutely obliterated by him. So, I think Cade's playing like one of the best players in the entire NBA. All-NBA him. All-NBA him. So, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys are most impressed about Cade so far, especially over this stretch in January, but really his season this year. Let me know, comment section down below, or over on Twitter at KukaHill. When we come back, Cade's been exceptional. We just talked about it. He's been great. But it's not just Cade leading the way. To be honest, there's something else going on that I won't say is leading it just as much because Cade is carrying the offense, but there's something else going on that's having just as big of an impact on why the Pistons are being able to play as great as they are, despite not having another ball handler without Jaden Ivey. We'll talk about and break down what that is when we come back. Therapy is a game changer. It can help manage stress, improve sleep, and communicate more effectively. But finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule can be a challenge. That's where Talkspace comes in. Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, makes getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable. With Talkspace, signing up is simple. You can match with a licensed therapist who fits your needs, usually within 48 hours. And it's convenient. You can have sessions from the comfort of your home and even message your therapist between appointments. Plus, Talkspace is covered by many insurance plans, and for most insured members, there's a $0 copay. It's never been easier to prioritize your mental health. As a listener of this podcast, you'll get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA and enter promo code SPACE80 to match with a licensed therapist today. Again, go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA, enter promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA, promo code SPACE80. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So as people have jokingly said, we've talked about Cade a ton on the podcast, and rightfully so. And he's been great this month. He's been great all year. And he is leading the Detroit Pistons. But the Detroit Pistons are having an insane month, not just because of Cade. They are turning around their franchise, their season, leapfrogging teams in the East. They're doing all these things. They're 9-3 in January. They're doing all these things not just because of Cade, but because of the play of certain individuals and the play of the other end of the floor. If you look at the Pistons' offensive rating in the month of January, it's nothing crazy. 17th in the NBA, have a 112.4 offensive rating. What that says to me is, without Jaden Ivey, this offense really should be lower. And we saw where it was throughout the majority of the year. It was around 22nd, 23rd, 24th, around there, before Jaden Ivey even went down. So without Jaden Ivey, Cade is still elevating this offense that doesn't have much creation to about middle of the pack offense. This is what I would call I know some Lions fans are going to hate this, but the comparison I'd make to this is like when people would complain about Stafford getting the Lions to like a 7-8 win season, when my argument would then be, well, yeah, he's taking a 3-win team and making it an 8-win team. He's not capping them at an 8-win team. He's making a bad team an average team, which is what Cade's doing. Cade's making what should be a bad offense because of the lack of creation, and he's turning it into an average offense. Okay? That's not that's not trying to minimize Cade at all, but that's not really what's carrying this team and helping them win. It's the fact they've been one of the best defensive teams in the NBA this month. They have the third best net rating in the entire league this month at 107.3. Right behind them, the 8-1 Indiana Pacers, who they played, and obviously we remember how that went. But the Pistons are playing some of the best defense in the entire NBA this year. And let's just go back to the Hawks game real quick, because I want to, it's not just this game, obviously, it's been all month, but since this was the most recent game, I want to point to this. There's one factor that changes this, and I think everyone knows where I'm going with this. Before this time, they didn't have this one factor. Now they have this one factor, and everything's completely warped. His name's Ausar Thompson. I told you guys all offseason last year that the Detroit Pistons defense, if you look at all the Detroit Pistons' best defensive lineups, last year, they all had Ausar Thompson in them. Even when you put bad defenders around him, Ausar Thompson was great as a rookie at just warping the lineup's defense because of what he's able to do on the floor. This year, it's been the exact same thing for the Detroit Pistons. Last episode, we talked about how well how much he's helped Jalen Duren, that duo having like a 107 defensive rating, or what was it? It was a 112 defensive rating of that duo, which would have been around 10th in the NBA. And we know how Jalen Duren struggles on defense, but Ausar Thompson helps cover all that up. He's also helping the Pistons play a lot faster. There's a clip, by the way, before we actually get to the fast part. There's a clip going around nationally right now, all over NBA Twitter, of a possession against the Hawks. I'm sure if you watch the game, you know exactly what clip I'm talking about, where Ausar Thompson legitimately guards all 5 Hawks players on one possession, switching across the board, stopping multiple dribble penetrations, then closing out, stopping another dribble penetration, closing out, contesting a shot, and then getting to the rim and contesting a Bogdanovic layup at the rim, forcing a miss. He was all over the place. Literally all over the place on one possession, guard 5 different defenders, cut off multiple different advantages for the Hawks just by himself. I mean, he's just absurd. He's just an insane defender. And then in this game, obviously he played fantastic. 16 points, 7 of 9 shooting. But you want to know where Ausar really thrives, and I think everyone obviously knows this, it's in transition. And when you have Ausar Thompson on the floor, he is someone who likes to get the ball in transition and push himself and try to find guys. Anytime you get it, this is even, not just off makes, by the way, when I talk about transition. Or off misses. This is also off makes, I should say. Whether it's a miss or a make, Ausar loves pushing the tempo. One of my favorite parts of the Pistons offense is when the other team makes a shot and Ausar gets the ball out from under the basket and he just pushes it. And they get early offense. Almost all the time, they create an open shot. Sometimes you'll see him turn the ball over, and you get that sometimes. But most of the time, you see him generate an open three, an open look for somebody. It's great stuff to watch. But what you get with Ausar is great defense. He changes your team's defense, and he makes you play a lot faster. Along with this, again, like we mentioned, he's helped Jalen Duren on the defensive end. Jalen Duren in this game against the Atlanta Hawks had 2 blocks. And then Isaiah Stewart has been one of the better defenders in the entire NBA. His per-minute stats are not going to do him justice because he only played 19 minutes in this game. He's not averaging a lot of minutes on the season. If he was the Pistons starter, if he was playing 30-plus minutes, his numbers would reflect how much, or his raw numbers, I should say. There's other numbers that support that he's been one of the best defenders in the league, but his raw numbers would do him a lot more justice if he was playing around 30 minutes a game. By the way, in this game, he had 12 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 blocks in just 19 minutes of play. Isaiah Stewart's having the best season of his career. Him and Ausar Thompson are contributing to changing the Pistons' defensive foundation. They've been fantastic. But what I want to get to, where I'm trying to get to with how fast the Pistons have been playing, because of how much Ausar Thompson has played this month, because he's finally playing around 20, 25 minutes. By the way, JB Bickerstaff did mention a few days ago that Ausar's still on a minutes restriction of around 25 minutes. So we don't even get to see him at 30 minutes yet. But because Ausar is playing so much more, because he started almost every single game this month outside of the games that he missed, those 2 games he missed this month due to that, I believe he was sick, right? During that sickness he had. Outside of that, he started almost every single game. And because he's playing heavy minutes, what that has resulted is the Pistons are not having to live in the half court. And they're creating easy buckets for themselves because they're getting stops and then they're running. They're getting stops. Cade's pushing the tempo and throwing an oop off the glass to Jalen Duren, throwing an oop off the glass to Ausar Thompson. Ausar Thompson in transition is one of the scariest off-ball threats I've seen If he's running in transition and Cade has the ball, he's more dangerous than Cade is. Ausar is more dangerous as an off-ball sprinter, off-ball transition scorer than Cade is with the ball in his hands. That's how scary he is. And the numbers back this up. The Pistons this month, in just the month of January, they are in 11th in the NBA in points off turnovers. Okay? And now stay with me here, because there's a number that's going to go with this that makes this even more impressive to me. So points off turnovers, 18 points. So obviously, not all turnovers turn into fast break opportunities. Sometimes you turn the ball over, a team slows it down, and they dribble it up the court and run a set offense. Sometimes they do just push it after a turnover, but that's not all of it. Despite that, they're turning the team over, and they are in the top 10-ish of scoring off of turnovers. They're creating turnovers, and they're scoring a lot off of them. However, what's even more impressive is how much they're scoring in fast break situations. And to me, what this says to me, and what I was just talking about earlier, they're not just playing fast and getting out in fast break situations or early transition opportunities off of misses, or just off of turnovers either. Off of misses, they're running. Off of makes, sometimes they're running. They're finding every chance possible to speed the game up and use their athleticism to their advantage. Right now, in the month of December, they are second in the entire NBA in fast break points. This is directly correlated to the fact that their defense is causing stops, and you are playing with Ausar Thompson on the floor, who naturally makes the team play faster. And the numbers when Cade's on the floor, they actually play a lot better with Cade on the floor in transition, even though people think, especially in fast break as well, even though people think Cade likes to slow it down. He does like to play his own pace, but when they have numbers, he pushes it, and he often finds guys open. So the Pistons defense, look, I know we've worshipped Cade, and he's worthy of all of it. He should be an all-NBA guy. He's been great. But the insertion of Ausar Thompson into the starting lineup has done wonders for the Pistons. They have completely changed their defense this year, or in this month. Remember, they started off hot, and then after November and December, they really started to go down, down, down. It was really bad. We talked about it. They were around like 25th in the NBA defensively in the month of December, around those, I think it was after the first 10-ish games, over the next 15 or so games, their defense completely fell off a cliff. And then Ausar comes back. He starts, he's playing more minutes, and now all of a sudden their defense is a top 3 defense in the NBA. They're getting out in transition. They're scoring more than just about anybody besides the New Orleans Pelicans in fast break opportunities. They're turning teams over, and they're playing great defense. And they're letting their defense give them chances in games, keep the score lower, and then they're letting their superstar offensive player to, look, we're going to get the score as low as possible. You just get us to a certain number. You just get us to 105 points. Just get us around there. Get us to a good scoring output, and we'll make it, and the defense will make it to where we can win this game. And that recipe has worked for the Detroit Pistons. So Ausar Thompson has been fantastic for him defensively. Isaiah Stewart has been one of the best defenders in the NBA this year. And Ausar Thompson is helping Jalen Duren look much better defensively, especially when they're not having to go against stretch bigs. They're just clamping down. If you don't have a guy that can space out at the 5, Ausar and Duren are just making your lives hell. Because Duren is better when he's allowed to just stay in the paint, and Ausar is just roaming all over the place. He's cutting off dribble drives, and he's going crazy off ball. So this is, again, like I said, a lot of talk has been gone to Cade, or been directed to Cade. And that's, look, like I said, deserves it. Fantastic. I love Cade. But the Pistons' defense this month deserves just as much love, and I truly believe it's directly correlated to one person, and that is Ausar Thompson being put into the starting lineup, and it's why I begged this team to put him in. Now, obviously, they couldn't. Let me not act like it was something they were refusing to do. They couldn't. He had his blood clot situation and wasn't clear for a while. Like, all that. I'm not trying to go at the team, but I'm just saying that's why I wanted him in the starting lineup if he was healthy from the get-go, because they needed this defense. They needed him, and he can warp a team's defense, especially when you have enough spacing with a THJ, Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, and Cade's pull-up shooting improvement. That allows you to have and create spacing despite having Ausar and Duren on the floor, and it allows you to then maximize the defensive output that you get from Ausar, and that's what they're doing this month. It's been fantastic. You love to see it. They're finding ways to win without having crazy creation all over the floor. So I think that obviously goes to a big credit to their defense, to those two guys, Ausar and Isaiah Stewart. So let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at KukaHill. How impressed have you been with Ausar Thompson and Isaiah Stewart and even Jalen Duren this month defensively? Let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at KukaHill. When we come back, though, what are the Detroit Pistons going to do? I feel like at this point, no one knows what the Detroit Pistons are going to do. I'll tell you what I'm talking about when we come back. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy, but the problem is I'm a procrastinator. I wait till the last second to get my tickets, and it's often screwed me over. I get bad tickets, I get bad seats, bad pricing, all that stuff. But with Game Time, it absolutely saves me. Game Time has made it easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Another thing I love about Game Time, not only do you get great last-minute deals, again, all the way up to the last minute, and sometimes even after the event has already started, you also get to see the view from your seat right within the app. So you're not having to guess about what your seat's going to look like. Is it going to be good for you? You get great seats. You get great pricing, you get great deals. Save someone like me who likes to wait till the last second all the time. Game Time is absolutely amazing. I love it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDINNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review or whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So look, we are a few, and also real quick, obviously, please hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. 500 away from 10,000 subscribers. I really would appreciate it. So we're literally like 2 weeks. I think it's exactly 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. And no one knows what the Pistons are going to do. I don't even think that the Detroit Pistons know what they're going to do. We've gotten so many different reports, One thing we do know, I will say this. There's one thing we do know. The Pistons will be making a move. So whether it's some move will be made. The Pistons are not going to spend $14 million of cap space. We talked about this on the episode on Monday with Keith Smith of Spot Track. He spoke about how the Pistons are obviously not going to spend $14 million of space. You just don't do that. We've also seen all the reports that it seems like if any big deal happens with any star, and the one everyone's talking about right now obviously is Jimmy Butler, the Pistons are going to have to be involved or very likely be involved because they're the only team in the NBA that has cap space, so therefore they can take on a contract to help make the deal happen. So the one thing we do know is that a deal will happen. The Pistons will be doing something. Something is going to happen. What that something is, no one knows. And I don't think Trajan knows either. I don't think Trajan knows what he wants to do. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm not criticizing Trajan. It's just that I don't think, I know that Trajan was not expecting to be in this position right now. He said it as much before a Pistons game last week on Pistons Live, and I told you guys this all offseason as well, and at the beginning of the year. They were not expecting this year for them to be this good. They were expecting to keep this pick, to show improvement over last year, win like 30 games maybe, and keep that pick and really go all in for it next year. That was the plan. And to accumulate assets. Use this cap space to just go get a bad contract, get some picks, and then we'll do something next year. Like, that was the plan. That was what they wanted or expected to happen this year. But the team currently is the 6th seed. Cade's playing like an all-NBA guy. He's made such a big leap that I don't think anyone expected outside of Cade and his camp. And now Trajan finds himself in a position where they're not in a rebuild right now. Now he finds himself in a position where he is the leader of a team that is trying to make the playoffs. Not the play-in, the playoffs. A team that has beat the New York Knicks twice. That's the team that he has now found himself the leader of, which is a good problem. I'm not saying Trajan is upset about it. Like, obviously, this is a good situation to have. It's just one I don't think they were really prepared for. I don't think this was a situation that they were really expecting to happen. They weren't expecting themselves to be like, oh God, it's January and we're the 6th seed. We got to evaluate some things. Like, should we be trying to get this team even better? We're in January and Cade might be an all-NBA guy. Like, we have a dude. Like, what do we do now? So this is from a report from Shams Charania yesterday. I'm recording this on the 23rd. So on Wednesday, this is a little blurb in his article. He said, adding to the Pistons' good fortune, they also have the most cap space available in the NBA right now with $14 million, and are expected to be significant players to take in salary along with an asset, or utilize the space for an upgrade ahead of the deadline. If you listen to Hoop Collective, Brian Windhorst's podcast, he's basically echoed that same stuff. That people around the league are starting to think the Pistons are going to use this cap space and use this deadline to try to upgrade. That they're not so sure the Pistons are just willing to take on salary for an asset now. They might be looking for an upgrade. I've heard over the last month or so that they are undecided. From the things I've heard. Along with Shams, along with Wendy, obviously I'm not claiming to be some insider, but I've heard some things. And the things I've heard is this team truly is undecided right now. There is no clear answer, and they very likely, unless Jimmy Butler and the Heat, unless they strike a deal up with the Suns and the Pistons have to be involved like within the next few days, because I know Jimmy's suspended over the next 2 games. If they think they can get a deal done before the next 2 games, that changes things. But outside of that, I think it's incredibly likely that they are going to be patient and wait to almost to the very last second. Maybe not literally the last minute or anything, but give it time to really get a grasp and an understanding of, okay, this is the route we are going to go and we feel confident about it. Because right now, everyone's undecided, and I say that, and it's not that they're confused or anything. It's just that, we originally had this plan, and now it's like, okay, let's reevaluate, is this the plan we should do? We have time. We have time to the deadline. It's not like we have to make an action right now. But now, is this the right plan to take? Or should we consider possibly upgrading? Should we be trying to upgrade? Is this team good enough? Is Cade playing well enough to where we should go and try and upgrade? That's the conversation right now. And they, at least from what I've heard over the last month, this entire month of January, along with what Wendy's reported, obviously, and obviously what Shams reported, all it matches up that they don't have a clear answer right now of what they want to do. So, this is probably the first time in a few years, I can't remember the last time, really, where we just did not know what the Pistons were going to do. Like, I feel like each of the last, 5 years at least, you kind of had an idea of what was going to happen. You knew what was going to happen. You knew what the Pistons were trying to do. You got it. I don't think anyone knows what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. Anything could happen. They could take on a bad contract just for, a first-round pick or two. They could go out and swing for a Levine. They could go out and get, a CJ McCollum. They could go out and maybe take on Pat Connaughton to get a few second-round picks. The range of what the Pistons could be doing within the next 2 weeks goes from this extreme down here to this extreme up here. It's all over the place. No one knows what they're going to do right now, which creates some excitement. Yes, 100%. But I'm also pretty anxious to see what they're going to do. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think the Detroit Pistons will do by the time the trade deadline rolls around in just about 2 weeks from now. Again, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kooky Hill. That's all I've got for you guys today, though. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. Till next time, peace out.